Welcome back. So pressure is mounting on the National Director of Public Prosecutions, Advocate Shamila Batohi, to give details surrounding allegations that the National Prosecuting Authority has been infiltrated. The EFF, for instance, is calling for an urgent parliamentary debate on her claims. We are joined by official opposition, the MK parties, Mzwanele Manyi, this evening. Mr. Manyi, a good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. This is going to be, I think, a very critical discussion in the country, considering the importance of the National Prosecuting Authority. And when you have an NDPP who backtracks on allegations that there has been infiltration of the authority, it does raise concern. Of course, she was called to the office of the Justice Minister to explain some of these claims. But what do you make about what this says around public confidence, certainly in the NPA?
Yeah, hi, Naditi. Thank you very much. No, for us as the MK party, we've been making this call since the beginning of the year that Batohi is wholly incompetent. As it were, even on the 16th of May, we wrote a letter to Mr. Ramaphosa to suspend her pending investigation, because we really think that having her in that office undermines the entire criminal justice system. She's been totally incompetent. These latest allegations that I hear now, you're saying she has even backtracked on them. That should even be a reason enough to remove her. Imagine such a spurious yet serious allegation to level against your own colleagues that are there. And I think this was just a red herring to try and get attention away from her. She's been a monumental failure. Very briefly, I can look at even 6 categories of failure, because I've been thinking about this. She has failed in her ability to perform her functions efficiently, which is a reason enough, by the way, to have her suspended. She has failed to lead prosecution or investigation, which talks to the abdication of her leadership. She has failed to review irrational decisions, which is amounts to legal neglect. I mean, if you look at the issue of she shouldn't have required any public outcry for her to say this decision is not making sense. Failure to ensure that prosecutors act competently, which talks to the systemic failure of her leadership over the past 6 years. Ignoring performance oversight, just sitting here and keep blaming national directors of the NPA directors at various provinces. Yet the law gives power to her to oversee these people, and she's going around pointing fingers everywhere. Lastly, even failure to prosecute without fear or favor. We hold a view as the MK party that, in fact, even some of her decisions to prosecute are actually just political. If we look at the issue of Koko Machela, for instance, a typical political decision which she has failed to even see through, because there's no evidence to back up all these political machinations that they've been doing to the poor guy. So, and Koko Machela is not the only person. There are many others as well. Look at what happened to the Cholota case. Look at what happened to Ace. Ace, even today, still sits without anything proper, which we can see that Batohi is just a tool for the establishment to settle political scores. Indeed, I think her time in that office has been nothing but a serious waste and a serious undermining of our criminal justice system. So we can't wait to see her back for us as MK party.
And I want to go back to that list that you've given me of, the failures that you talk about, and you say the failure to review irrational decisions is one of them. If we go back to the issue of Cholota, certainly with Morwadi Cholota in the Bloemfontein High Court, the ruling there being that her extradition was unlawful. The technicality leading that was that it is the Justice Minister's purview, I suppose, to order and request an extradition. I mean, those are technicalities that one could argue are incredibly important. So your view on what this says about other extradition cases like that of the Guptas, for instance, and the NPA's ability to bring them back home?
Indeed. And the worst thing about that one is that she goes to the public and lies and says all kinds of things to create the impression that she's on track, when the truth of the matter is that we have a court judgment from the Dubai court somewhere 2023 April, which says that in terms of the treaty that South Africa has with Dubai, for you to have your extradition executed, you must have warrants of arrest. And on both fraud and corruption charges, there is no valid warrant of arrest. Even the Nulane case, which was the base case for those warrants, the people that were accused there were not only found not guilty, they were actually acquitted, which just shows that it's a high level of a nonsensical case. As it were, the state right now is vulnerable to being sued if those people want to take their rights through, all because of Batohi's incompetence. So there is just nothing that she can go home and say, here is a major case that since my appointment I have done. I'm not aware of anything that she has ever done. Even if you were to look at the billions of rands that were lost with that Mark Jooste case, where they even agree. Imagine to agree to be funded by a person that are investigating. How can she not even see that on its own compromises the credibility and the integrity of NPA? How can the person that you are investigating pay for investigation on himself? How ridiculous. And Batohi agrees to all this. So indeed, we really have an incompetent person here. I just don't understand why is it that Mr. Ramaphosa has not jumped to this opportunity, because on his own he cannot do anything, apparently. But now we've given him a proper, well-argued case to say this lady is out of her wits, she's out of her depth, and she has been like this for the past 6 years. And we've been tolerating this for all this time, thinking that she's going to come right, Instead, they go and fake cases. They've got an approach now in NPA, fake it till you make it. They go to court with empty files and pretend to be very serious and studious, and yet they know they've got nothing on those files. What kind of a charade is this? Why is it that South Africa is tolerating this? So for us as MK Party, we just really can't wait for Mr. Ramaphosa to do what we've asked him to do on the 16th of May. And as I say, we've been on this case since the beginning of the year and all of that. But now we've brought it to where it must be actioned.
Yeah.
The presence of Batohi right now in her office is really the incompetence of Mr. Ramaphosa.
So, I do want to say this, that we certainly have not seen the files of prosecutors that enter the courtrooms and can say that they are empty, and so that needs to be said. But this is what a few other political parties are saying. The Economic Freedom Fighters have written to Speaker Togo Tidiza. They want a debate on what they say is a crisis in the National Prosecuting Authority. Action SA saying that they want Batohi's immediate removal. This, of course, coming from her failure to deal with some of the more high-profile cases. So you say act. What is the action that you want to see now as the MK Party, where the NPA and the NDPP is concerned?
Well, look, you must understand that the appointing authority here is not Parliament. So all these parliamentary calls are really just theatre. Nothing is going to come out of that. It's just theatre. The real thing here is with the appointing and the removing authority. That authority is one person and one person only, and that's Mr. Ramaphosa. So for us as MK, we've made the correct call to go to the appointing authority. There's no amount of discussion that's going to happen in Parliament that's going to do anything. It's going to be a discussion, and that's it. The person that holds the power to remove it is Mr. Ramaphosa. And so I think those calls and everything else that are directed at Parliament, truth be told, is just theatre, because there's no, Parliament is not appointed. It was appointed by Mr. Ramaphosa, and that's where the power to remove lies. So the pressure must be on Mr. Ramaphosa. What these parties are advised to do is to help the call of the MK Party and write more letters themselves to Mr. Ramaphosa to say further to the letter that the MK Party has written to you. We also back that letter, and we're also saying for these reasons, they even have their own reasons why she must be removed. To take it to Parliament is really theatre. People just want to be on TV. That's all.
And of course, we're looking at what the various political parties have said. If we look at those, or a party within the Government of National Unity, the Democratic Alliance, for instance, not quite supportive of this idea of removing the NDPP, but saying that the institution, that is the NPA, in and of itself is highly flawed. And in fact, one of the suggestions that they've put on the table is that there be the creation of an anti-corruption commission that will investigate and even prosecute high-level corruption. They've asked for an ACC and also asked for some changes to the Constitution on how the NDPP is appointed. What do you make of that suggestion, an anti-corruption commission?
The important suggestion is the one made by the MK party, which is much more long-lasting. We've taken opportunity of this constitutional review period, which just lapsed on the 31st of May. Our submission in terms of the NPA is that the NPA must become a Chapter 9 institution. The biggest weakness with the NPA now is the involvement of politicians like Mr. Ramaphosa, as an example. If, for instance, the NPA was a Chapter 9 institution, we would be having some kind of a Section 194 kind of process right now, like it happened with the public protector. We would have some kind of a similar situation like that, where Parliament has got much more power to do something about this than it is at the moment. At the moment, Parliament, as far as Batohi is concerned, is just a talk shop. The person with the power is the president. So for us, as the MK party, we've made a much more solid submission on this to say NPA must become a Chapter 9 institution so that Parliament has got much more leverage as a place where these institutions account. Right now, they are accounting, they can come to Parliament, but their real boss is really the president, as it was. So I want to change that as the MK party.
Okay. Mr. Manyi, we do appreciate your time this evening. Thank you so much. That's Zwanele Manyi there of the Mkhonto Wesizwe party, speaking to us about their views on what needs to be done moving forward, certainly with some of the instability, concerns around the National Prosecuting Authority's ability to continue its work under the leadership of the current NDPP. You're still watching Newsfeed PM, the late edition. We've got your headlines at the top of the hour. Please stay with us.